A very warm welcome to all of you who are watching this show, and it has come down to the final of the ACT in Chennai. It will be versus Malaysia. And to understand this match better, I have a couple of very well-known experts joining me. But before I go to them, let me just inform you that India have won 5 matches so far and drawn 1 against Japan in this tournament. And in the semis, India blanked the reigning Asian Games champions Japan 5-0 to make it to the final. And during their unbeaten run, world number 4 India also defeated 9th-ranked Malaysia 5-0 during the league stage of the continental meet. So it looks a bit difficult for Malaysia. So I will go over to our guest, who is joined from Kuala Lumpur. A very warm welcome to you, Mr. Vigneshwaran. And he is a former international. He's a state and club coach. How does it look to you, honestly, where the final is concerned? Because so far, India, like I said, has had a great run.
Well, if you look at their last game against Korea, I think they played their best game in many years. And they are, at the moment, in the right momentum. And I'm sure that the game with India will be a tough one because, as you can see, we had close affairs except for the preliminary match in this tournament where Malaysia lost 5-0. So this is where today it all boils down to who makes the lesser mistakes and who takes their opportunities.
Mr. Vigneshwaran, what about the strategy? Because people are saying repeatedly that in the final, it is a game of nerves. It is just that one-off game. Reputations don't matter. And above all, the speed matters. Like the first quarter is going to be crucial for both teams. But Malaysia seems to be a bit worried whether they can sustain the pace for all the 4 quarters involved. What do you think?
Well, it's definitely going to be a very fast pace. India coming from the Pro League, higher ranked than Malaysia, definitely has the advantage. But then if you look at it in terms of the game, these two teams, they know each other too well. They've been playing against each other for many years, right from the period when they were in their junior team. So they have a lot of respect for each other. Malaysia have won some games. India also has won some games. You know, it's going to be a tooth and nail game because always in a match when it's the final game, it's going to be a different touch and go affair. Obviously, if you look at it for tonight, India does definitely have the advantage.
Can I push you for a prediction? What do you think will happen?
Yeah. Realistically, I'll definitely say India has the advantage. And I wouldn't be surprised if India wins, especially with their home crowd with them.
And what about the scoreline?
Scoreline, I do not think that it's going to be 5-0. It's going to be a smaller score. That's what I predict.
Sandeep Mishra, you are grinning sitting in the Chennai press box and the action is going to begin. You know Vigneshwaran personally very well and umpteen amount of times you've been in KL. So 2 things first. One is your prediction, the score line, and the third one would a little bit on the speed factor where India is concerned.
Obviously, if you see the game has developed a lot. There's a lot of sciences in it. This game is going to be blistering fast. India has a lot of players who can really move very, very quickly from defense to attack. They've got very capable players. Their penalty corners is very dangerous, as well as they've got a very, very good set of goalkeepers these days. So, you know, this is where India has. As for Malaysia, they are quick. They might not be the fastest, but they are quick. And the quickness of the Malaysian players is where people find it very difficult. And the volatility of these players is where suddenly they can perform and catch the defenders napping. So this is where India has to be careful.
What are your opening thoughts on the match?
I think the way you just put it, I think picking up a scoreline is going to be extremely difficult. But I still feel it's not going to be breakneck speed. I think at some point in the match, if these two sides have to take the game into the fourth quarter, and I mean the fourth quarter because if either of the sides probably takes a 2-0 or even if it's a 3-1 lead going in, it gets very difficult to catch up in the fourth quarter because any of these teams can really slow the pace down. And that would mean basically hacking away at the speed, ensuring that the penalty corners are not there, ensuring that you have a very, very solid defense. So, right from the second quarter, I do feel unless either of the teams, and let's put it at percentage wise, I think India is still 60%, 70% on a much higher level in terms of whether it's talent, whether it's skill, or otherwise, or any other aspect of this particular sport right now, even in the rankings. But looking at all these factors, I still think this is going to be a close game. I still feel Malaysia has the pace to tackle India, but at the same time, both these teams really need to ensure that the first quarter is probably close and none of them actually surrender the lead because chasing a final sometimes gets very difficult, very very difficult.
So, Sandeep, what is the kind of scoreline are you looking at? When you say it's going to be a close game, you're echoing what Vigneshwaran has also said. So, what is it going to be agreed to?
Listen, I mean, trying to get a 5-0 scoreline is going to be very difficult because I understand both the coaches are going to be understanding and looking at the mistakes, looking at the weaknesses, and as well as the strengths, and they will play according to that. If they have to slow the game down because they don't want goals at the back, it will happen. There will not be any playing to the gallery at all because the moment you do that, then you give away moments of the match. I think if you really look at the scoreline, I still believe India has the potential for a 3-1 win.
Vigneshwaran, Malaysia's top scorer in this tournament is a player called Farhan Ashari, and he has hit the board 4 times, and there is a lot of expectation from him. So, do you think it will come down on his shoulders again?
Firhan is a very experienced player, and this is a very new role for him because normally Firhan plays at a lower position. But if you can see that he's very successful in this particular position that he's playing, he's enjoying it, and he's one player that the Indian defenders must watch because in today's hockey, you can easily create a penalty stroke situation. Because the tackling, the rules has evolved, and due to that, he is a dangerous player to watch.
Okay, Vigneshwaran, I'll come back to you with one more point. I spoke to my old friend Ramaguru, who is in Kuala Lumpur, and he's covered hockey for over 3 decades, as we all know. And so I took the liberty of speaking with him before this match, and his good friend Sandeep Mishra has no clue about that. So Rama has pointers, and I want to come to you on that. The first pointer, and he says that Malaysia have had an experienced team, but there is an over dependence on a few senior players like the skipper Marhan Jalil, then Mohammad Razi and Faisal Shari. So there are two aspects here: that will this over dependence on senior players be a bother for Malaysia, and how will they get the youngsters into play?
Well, this is a very clever and good point pointed out by Ramaguru. Over dependence is always not good, and when you depend on 2, 3, 4 players, then the opposition can tactically plan better because then you can know how to kill the team. This is where they need to release, they need to discharge the responsibilities to the younger players to carry on the role. This is where the young players like Shallow, the young players like Amirul must come into play and take those roles because the senior players of India know how to nullify these senior players of Malaysia.
Okay. Sandeep Mishra, coming to you, there's another pointer from Rama, and he says that Malaysia are known as speedy tigers, but they are often slow starters. Can they keep up a constant attacking game to pin India back? What do you think?
No, I think both the teams can't really play full pace 4 quarters. It's virtually impossible. I mean, you look at the conditions and everything. It's virtually, and they played a semi-final yesterday. At some point of time, physically also you feel that pressure. But I think mostly it's going to come from the coaches. They are going to dictate the pace. It's going to be a cat and mouse game at the end of it. They both know, as uh, Rama is also probably meaning in his pointers towards you, that they play each other so frequently that they do understand what happened. And if I just go back to the 2018 Asian Games, we all know what happened there. India was leading, and then we made those mistakes. We came under pressure, and we released the semi-final and not going to the final. Though of course Malaysia went to the final and Japan was there, and that was a different ball game altogether. But today I really don't think so that you're really going to see a hard-paced game. If it is going to be a hard-paced game, it's going to come in the first quarter. It's going to come from both the teams, and both the teams would probably want a 1-0 or a 2-1 or a 2-0 lead going into the second quarter, because then they can exert more pressure and control the game in the second and third quarter.
Ignatian, there's another pointer which has come in from Ramaguru, and I find this a very interesting question, and you're best suited to answer. So he basically, the pointer that has come in says that often too many unforced errors creep up, and this gives away the advantage to the opposition. So how does Malaysia minimize these situations?
This is something that Malaysia has to be careful, because they are known to make these kind of errors, a series of errors, and this is where they become self-destructive. So this is where they need to avoid at all costs, and they need to have a better game management. This is vital, and this is a very important point given by Ramaguru, because as you can see, some games they play really well, they play extremely well, but other games they play and they are self-destructive, and suddenly things collapse against them, and possibly, this is the pattern that they need to really be careful of. And the other important thing is also, I'm sure that both these teams are quite skeptical in another way, because what is more important is winning the Asian Games. So they're not going to throw the towel here and show everything out in this match tonight.
Vigneshwar, another important point which strikes me is that, in fact, it's extrapolating what Sandeep Mishra just said, that India and Malaysia are two teams who play each other often and they know each other quite well. Now, when two teams reach a final and they have been playing against each other, so they know their pluses and minuses. So what is that extra edge which can be sort of brought in by Malaysia in this match?
Well, obviously, the penalty corners make a important role. Certain players making those certain difference in the game, the moments of the game. For instance, Faisal Sari, with his glimpses in the game, can turn the scoreline around. So these kind of moments is where India has to be careful. On the other hand, India too has their own capacity. They got a few guys who can really flick well, and they are world-class penalty corner flickers. They got few players who can be very potent in D, scoring goals. They got young players who can be very dangerous in the D. So this is the mixture that India has, and this is where the difference is going to come. So both defense, India and Malaysia, will be very careful in addressing these things. Minimizing penalty corners is another very important role, and very important is the goalkeepers. They got to be on their toes, and they got to have the right frame of mind tonight.
Okay. Sandeep, speaking about penalty corners and the point that Vigneshwaran just made, that these penalty corners might be the deciding factor. So we have our star drag flicker, Harmanpreet, and who's also the captain, and he's the leading scorer of the tournament so far with 8 goals. How much will depend on him, or do you see a phalanx of other players coming into play?
Getting a field goal, and the others all came into the attack. I mean, Sumit's goal was world class, probably the goal of the tournament till now. I mean, it was an amazing and probably one of those glorious moments in hockey where you probably bring in an era that was gone and you bring in modern hockey and you paste it together, and that's what Sumit created. So I think today, because of the way I believe it might be close, I think one or two PCs might just become very extremely crucial, but also understand that if the pace and if the game becomes slow, in fact, if the game is rotated too much, I think then switching and your counter attacks are going to become very, very crucial. I think both these defenses are going to be tight today. Nobody would want to take a chance. And as you said, Rama was saying about errors. No, I just also wanted to point out that we might as well brought Rama onto the show. I mean, if he's going to give pointers, so many of on the back end, he might as well be sitting here. But anyway, I mean, his points are so clear in a sense that you can actually see India, Malaysia over the years, 20 years, 15 years, or since the time I have seen them. We've had extremely close matches with them. And we have also had matches, even in the Azlan Shah, those last matches at night where the scorelines have been 5-1 or 6-1, all of that. So I think if you really look at it that way, it's going to be a slow game. It's also going to be a match where chances are going to be few. but you have to take them, and the team that takes them is the one that's going to get onto the podium.
Sandeep, another pointer from Ramaguru, which seems to be his show, although he's not on the
I
show.
know.
And another interesting pointer. After you, I'll go to Vigneshwaran. So he says that this is Malaysia's fifth final at the Asian level. Do they have that extra surge to win for the first time ever? Of course, the earlier finals were Asian Games 2010, 2018, Asia Cup 2017, and 2022. So when we are talking about the need for an extra surge, what can that be? What shape would it be?
You're talking about India or Malaysia?
Malaysia.
No, I think they are great fourth quarter players. They are extremely good when holding a game from three quarters onto the fourth quarter. Then they become extremely dangerous. I have seen them at least in 6 to 7 matches where we might have been leading 2-1, where we might have been leading 3-1. The scores become 3-3, and then they become much more dangerous in terms of they go all out. What India does is because they feel okay, fine. I mean, how the hell did we lose a lead? And because we are an important team, so they come under pressure and they start backtracking, and the entire phalanx of Malaysian forwards will suddenly start attacking. And there's that one PC that suddenly crop up in the 59th minute, or even in the last 30, 40 seconds, that's going to be extremely crucial. I think, and Stephen probably said this, he says all of Malaysia's chances are of taking this game into the fourth quarter. If we take into the fourth quarter, then all of us can start believing that yes, we can do it. And I think Malaysia probably will try and do that.
Vigneshwaran, do you agree with the strategy of taking the game deep and late to the fourth quarter?
Obviously, if I'm the Malaysian coach, I will definitely try to drag the game because the pressure is on India, home soil, higher rank, and they are the favorites. So obviously, that is all I want to do to drag the game and delay and deny India any score. So you India will gather unnecessary pressure, and that allows them to make more mistakes, be more vulnerable, and that is why you take your chances. So I totally agree.
Sandeep, coming back to India, because we seem to be overdoing the Malaysian bit and I don't want to be hit on the head late.
Yeah.
Let's talk about India and what can India do under Coach Craig Fulton. We've in the past discussed his defensive strategy. Turkey also, who was himself been over 10 years for India before he majored as the skipper and changed roles. So, is it going to be a defensive strategy and try to put in with all-out blistering attack in the first two quarters?
No, I think he's going to be very tight. I mean, if we see how Craig has been speaking in press conferences, the way he has been talking about the team, he probably, not probably, he firmly believes in the fact that if you are strong defensively, you have more of a chance in closing matches. You have more of a chance when it comes down to the fourth quarter. And you just look at the results in the last World Cup or even in some other tournaments, it all came down to the fourth quarter. The third quarter was always a kind of a battle where teams try to keep off the other and then take it and put pressure on the fourth. And most of these matches were all settled in the last 1 minute, last 40 seconds, last 45, last 55 seconds. You have seen goals happening in the last World Cup. I think what Craig wants is that you have such a solid defense that you can keep the opposition away and win a match 1-0, 2-1, 3-2. I think what he tries and makes the players understand is that no scoreline, whether it is 3-1 or 4-1, is a winning scoreline. Because any team in this particular format of the sport now, and which is called modern hockey in so many ways, you cannot have a 4-line, 4-1 or a 5-1 and sit pretty. Because two goals inside, and you still have 15 minutes of a fourth quarter, you can expect a draw and then a last minute where so much pressure falls. His job is right now, and as Dilip Tirki also said that he does buy into that fact that if you have a very strong defensive unit, you can keep a team away and you can hang on defensively. Not hang on because you're just hanging on in hope, but you hang on very structurally and you hang on very solidly. I think that's where he wants to take the team, and I believe today you're probably going to see a glimpse of that.
Would you also share with our viewers? I remember you telling me this anecdote that India was playing Malaysia, and in the last quarter, if I remember it correctly, India was leading by close to 3 goals, and you left the stadium or wherever you had to leave, and you had a bet with Ramaguru, and Malaysia actually beat India. Now, how did that happen in the last quarter, and what were the other details?
No, no, no. That was, I think you probably missed the point that I was making was that it was the Asian Games final. They were leading massively against Japan.
Okay.
And Rama and I said, man, the match is up now. I mean, like you guys up by 4 goals. I mean, there's nothing left in this game to watch. So I just went off. I mean, like, and I said that it's over. And he said, want to have a bet on it. So I said, bet on what? Malaysia winning. So he says, no, he's not certain yet. So I said, no, no, you guys have won. But believe me, by the time I reached the gate of the stadium, I was just going out to meet someone, and there was this roar, and then there was another roar, and then there was another roar, and the scores were equalized, and Japan beat Malaysia to the Olympic spot. I mean, it was an incredible game that Malaysia lost, and I have to use the word incredible because you don't lose from those positions. You can't take 4 goals up and you lose there. And it was I mean, it was a great match, of course, for the spectators, for anybody watching it. It was super. But for Malaysia, it was heartbreaking, and for Japan, it was like the first Asian Games gold medal. Eichmann, the coach, all of that played in. So and that's exactly what I was saying in the last. That irrespective of the scoreline, till that last second is there, you have to be on the ball. You have to be closing the defenses. You have to be in your zone. You have to be doing whatever the coach demands, blocking the channels, ensuring the passes don't come, ensuring that the opposition is not coming into that circle to create that PC. This is a very different game now from what we saw 10 years back. From even, in fact, honestly, even what we saw 5 years back. People and things are so flexible in a match now, and players are so fit that anything can happen at any point of time. And also, one more point, rankings don't matter in finals. And today, hopefully, India wins because it's in India and we are all wanting India to win. But rankings won't matter, and I won't really be surprised if the match even goes into a fourth quarter completely closed down.
Vikeshwaran, just explain that last quarter between Malaysia and Japan, because that's a very important indicator of the point that both of you have been making, that in a high pressure match anything can happen. But when a team is leading in the last quarter, what does it take for the rivals to come in and take the game away?
In a game like this, it ain't over till it's over. So sometimes when you're taking a lead like 3-0 with 7 minutes to go, the moment you are thinking about winning the game, you take your foot off the pedal, and that is where you allow the opponents to come back at you because you're not interested in scoring any more goals. You're just waiting for the game to be over. And after that, one after another, that is where I said earlier, being self-destructive, making all those errors because you're afraid to lose, because you just forgot that you have to play hockey the last 7 minutes of the Asian Games, and that is exactly what happened the last time around. So this is where Malaysia has to be careful because uh, elements like this is something that you just don't want to repeat. And a lot of these players playing tonight have played in that 2018 Asian Games, and they know that bitter experience, and they don't want a repeat.
Vikeshwaran,
Well, I just
yeah,
wanted to come in and ask
Yeah,
Iswaran a question. I mean,
sure.
the Malaysian Federation has also had alternatives. You also had Terry Walsh. I remember way back in '92, you had him as a coach for the Barcelona Olympics, and then again you brought him in, and I think you
Yes,
still
yes,
have him as a consultant right now. He probably
yes,
comes in and
yes,
consults. Tell
yeah.
me something that do you really believe that? And I asked this to Rehan Butt and also to Sakleen, where they feel that homegrown coaches is the answer. But do you also believe? And India has not gone for homegrown coaches for the last
Yeah.
almost a decade. But what is your opinion? Where are you sitting on this homegrown versus European coach? That entire debate. Where do you fit yourself in?
For me, my personal opinion, I agree with Rehan Bhatt. I agree with your thoughts that you need a talent, local talent, and you need to groom that local talent. You need to expose that local talent into all those different elements of hockey, the sport sciences, the sports technology, and make him as a wholesome coach. So he has to go through that mill. That is very important. So now the next question is, how do we invest into them? You need to find the talent because not all hockey players are going to be good coaches. A lot of them are going to go based on their experience. It's going to go a lot of emotions into it. But a real hockey coach is going to be a person with brains, who can think, who's very rational about situation, and who understands what needs to be done. So this is where I do personally believe that you need to invest in your local talent.
But do you also agree to a point? You've had Paul Lisek, and he influenced Malaysian hockey a lot. The semi-final against India in the '98 Commonwealth Games, Lisek was the coach, and we just kept attacking and attacking and attacking, and Malaysia kept defending, and then got that one goal, and they won the match. But coming over from Lisek to Altmans to Terry Walsh, all these players, all the people that you have had, don't you think that they would have been a continuity if you would have just carried on with the European coach, or as Sakleen says, Gora Gora means the white man, as the coach?
Well, I believe that you need to have them as catalysts. Maybe if you are
Okay.
lacking in certain elements, you need their input. But then don't lose what you have. You need those elements, put them into it, but make it, expand it and make it better. I think that is important because in your home soil, you have got all kinds of people with so much of capacity and capability. The only problem is sometimes we tend to not believe in our local talent. We sense we undermine them, and we think the solution is these kind of people. That is sometimes that's what we think, but actually I believe that we all have our local talent, and they are as capable.
Arup, just one point. Harendra wants to come into the debate. Can you tell somebody to give him a link? He just wanted to come in.
Harinder?
Yeah, he just wanted to join
Okay,
in case
sure,
there's any
sure,
time for him to.
sure. I'll do that.
One more point, Mr. Vikneshwaran. I just wanted to come in onto the first quarter and the second quarter. Um, do you think both the teams will go all out? Do you believe Malaysia's tactic would work if they go all out in the first quarter, opening themselves up for a counter attack, or do you believe a very conservative approach is going to work for them?
I believe that it's going to be a very cautious start. Obviously, if I'm the Malaysian coach, I'll be thinking that India is going to come at me. I got to be very cautious, and the
Okay.
Indian players obviously will have respect over the Malaysian players, and they too will be holding back. So you don't want to make those mistakes, because you make mistakes, you get punished. So that is what I can see. But what they'll be trying to go is try to get the first penalty corner and convert from that
Okay.
situation. But remember today, the game has evolved that we forgot that the defense management of the penalty corner has improved so much.
Yeah,
The first
yeah, true.
runners, the angle of running. So that's another factor that will determine the game today as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sandeep, there's another point that I would want to get a perspective from you, which is that in his press conference after R. Srijesh, our seasoned goalkeeper and major superstar of Indian hockey, who's celebrated his 300th international cap, now he sat, I believe, next to his coach, and he was saying that he believes that a goalkeeper's role is akin to that of a coach, as they are the only ones who can observe the entire game from behind. And I saw that the coach wasn't too happy to hear that. So, is there a somewhere, and how do you interpret it?
No, no, no. I guess he's he's the funny guy in the team. I think every team needs a player like Srijesh. Every team needs somebody who can at least kind of calm the players down. Play the crown in a different style, sense of the term. And I don't think Craig would ever have an issue, because at the end of the day, I think he's a man who's extremely comfortable in his own skin. There very rarely you have coaches who have taken Ireland to a bronze medal in the European Championships. It's almost like saying Nepal takes the bronze medal in the Asian Games Hockey Championship. So there's a huge credit that goes to Craig for doing that. I think that is more creditable, honestly, than him being the assistant coach of Belgium in two World Cups, where they won the World Cup once and they were runners up at the last one. So I think he's very comfortable. He exactly understands what needs to be done. Yes, at the end of the day, every coach wants a result, and I think every coach also requires a player like Srijesh who can, make things a little lighter in that sense. It's like that stuff that happened at the end of the press conference also, where he called Harman, he's pointed towards Harmanpreet and said the weapon, and Harmanpreet pointed to Srijesh and said the wall. So I think this banter is good, and I think it goes well looking into the final that they are not really under pressure. They Harmanpreet has changed, also along with Srijesh. Srijesh of course has played more matches, and he was a 2016 Olympic captain for India, and you have Harmanpreet who's junior to him, and Srijesh is comfortable playing with him. So I think this probably is good for the team in a way. It brings the team together. The players are all happy, and it also. I think it also goes well for the Asian Games because at the end of the day, irrespective of what happens in this final today, I think everything is being prepared for the Asian Games. And even Malaysia doesn't have two of their important players here. I think they are injured and are probably going through a rehabilitation. India doesn't have Dilpreet, India doesn't have Abhishek, India doesn't have Lalit Upadhyay, who were all sitting in the stadium yesterday. So you will see changes. Of course, I've come back to another point from what you asked, but I think you will see changes even in this team when they leave for the Asian Games. And I think that's also going to happen for Malaysia. Probably a couple of changes, three changes, because the Asian Games is probably what everybody is focusing on because that is the place where you have to win and go to the Olympic Games directly. The ACT is a good preparation ground.
Sandeep, I believe that you used your vocation as a career diplomat. So, I think sports journalism has gained having your presence. I want to push you on another point with Srijesh that I mean, as a fan of the game, but you are the expert. So purely as a fan, I want to ask that is Srijesh one of the greatest goalkeepers India has ever produced because the kind of billing he has and that superstar status, even after our last performance, the way he was petted and celebrated in India, it was a big deal.
Come again, the first point, the first half I couldn't figure out.
What I'm asking is Srijesh, according to you, one of the highest rated goalkeepers India has ever produced?
Yes, of course, for sure. I mean, there's no doubt about that. The first Asian Champions Trophy, if you remember, we were all there. I mean, as a team, MNIS was there at Ordos in Mongolia, where Srijesh saved two penalty corners in the final against Pakistan. In 2014 Incheon Asian Games, I was there watching Srijesh save penalty corners against Pakistan again in the final. He's been extremely consistent. Yes, there have been ups and downs, and that goes for every player. Whether it's Harman, Harman had a bad patch in the 2000 in the last World Cup. I mean, he just couldn't score. But Srijesh's bad patch came in the 2018 quarterfinal against Holland, where two shots, which I think was savable from a goalkeeper's point of view. My view is of a journalist's view, which probably may be taken, may not be taken by a player. But I think that 2018 was a low point. Again, he brought himself back. And if you really look at the bronze medal match against Germany, the last quarter, the last 2, 3 minutes, I think he was terrific in that. So, and then in the press conference, he said that, I'm maturing like old wine and, all of that. So if he matures like old wine and he flows on till 2002 for Paris Olympics, it's great for Indian hockey if he can keep these consistent performances. But at the same time, Arup, I think one has to understand that India is one of those few countries which play a goalkeeper in different quarters. Which I mean is, if Srijesh plays the first quarter, somebody else plays the second, then Srijesh comes for the third, and then somebody else comes for the fourth. So it's kind of balances it out in terms of form and all of that.
Okay, so for the viewers, we've been trying very hard to get in Mr. Ashok Kumar, who is a member of the 1975 World Cup winning team. And if you remember that, of course, the millennials won't, but when India beat Pakistan in that match 2-1, it is Ashok Kumar who shot that winning goal. We've been trying very hard to get him over. Hope he can. But we are very fortunate to have Harinder Singh joining us from LA, and he is the US men's team coach. Also, he is a very celebrated name in Indian hockey here and has trained very successfully the Indian team and also the women's team. हरी जी, आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है। अब अच्छा हुआ कि आप शो पे आ गए, क्योंकि हम मलेशिया भारी पड़ रहा है। विघ्नेश्वरन जी वहाँ कुआलालंपुर से और रमा गुरु अपने क्वेश्चन के साथ बहुत ज्यादा प्रेशर डाल रहे हैं मेरे पे। तो आपसे ये जानना चाहेंगे कि ये इंडिया वर्सेस मलेशिया का जो फाइनल है, इसमें पेनल्टी कॉर्नर्स का क्या रोल रहेगा, और क्या जो हमारे स्टार ड्रैग फ्लिकर हैं हरमनप्रीत सिंह, उनका एक बहुत अहम रोल हो सकता है? आप क्या सोचते हैं?
पहली बात है आरोप जी, इसको दो तीन नजरों से देखना पड़ेगा। एक तो थोड़ा सा हम पास्ट में चले जाएं, एक्सेप्ट द वर्ल्ड कप 2023 छोड़कर हरमनप्रीत मेरे ख्याल से कांस्टेंट जिसको मैं कह सकते हैं, उसकी जो ग्राफ है वो मेंटेन है। वो 28 to 33% ऑफ कन्वर्जन रेट है उसका पीसी। एंड वर्ल्ड का मार्केट देखिए अगर हॉकी जगत में, तो जो भी टीम 24 to 26% अगर कन्वर्जन रेट है पीसी का, तो वो मैच निकाल लेते हैं। और वो वन ऑफ द रीजन है कि वो एक कोई भी सिचुएशन हो गोल करने के माहिर है। तो ये कोई कहे कि प्लेंटी कॉर्नर में हरमनप्रीत का हमारे पास तोड़ है, मेरे को नहीं लगता कि अभी तोड़ है किसी के पास, क्योंकि उसका जो लास्ट मोमेंट का रिलीज ऑफ द बॉल है वो बहुत ही सटीक एंड बहुत ही पावरफुल है। लोग एक लॉन्ग ड्रैग करते हैं, वो शॉर्ट ड्रैग से करके एंड जहां पे भी वो चाहता है, राइट लेफ्ट टॉप बॉटम, वो कहीं पे भी डाल सकता है। ऑफ कोर्स इसे क्रूशियल होगा। और मेरा अपना मानना है कि इंडियन टीम का जो इस टूर्नामेंट में जो परफॉर्मेंस है, कहीं ना कहीं अगर इंडिया फर्स्ट 5 या 10 मिनट्स में एक या दो प्लेंटी कॉर्नर निकाल लेती है, ये मैच वैसे ही एक तरफा होगा जैसे पूल मैच में हुआ था।
Harinder, what do you feel might be the possible scoreline? Because that was one of the aspects that everyone wants to know very quickly. And what is your prediction?
See that let's be candid and be frankly. If we are analyzing, let's not be the emotional. And I tell you, the Indian hockey is far, far. Uh, I think they have taken the huge step if you compare with the other Asian team. Other Asian team is still they are struggling with the old players, the same format of hockey, defensive hockey. They are only looking for this thing, and I think that Indian hockey in 2014 has taken the huge step. And credit goes to, as earlier I said, the Hockey India, all the coaches who are involved, the players, the officials. I don't think so. The Indian hockey right now they are enjoying the all support from everyone. No one is there. So yes. That's only I have put it in my Twitter also. इंडिया का जो दुश्मन है इंडिया खुद है। अगर इंडियन प्लेयर अपने इमोशन को कंट्रोल करे, स्ट्रेटजी जो प्लानिंग है उस पर खेल लें, मेरे को नहीं लगता कि कोई भी टीम इस समय इंडियन टीम को टच करने के काबिल है और कर पाएगी भी। मैं ये भी बता दूं, सिर्फ इंडिया ही इंडिया का दुश्मन है अगर पिच पे इमोशनली खेलेंगे और अपना कहीं ना कहीं स्ट्रेटजी से अलग होके अपनी स्किल को दिखाने के लिए खेलेंगे। दैट्स ओनली थिंग्स।
Harish ji, there is one more question
Harinder,
that I want to ask. Oh, so okay, Sandeep wants to come in. Sandeep.
yeah, Harinder, I mean, you coached the senior side to the World Cup. Even the Champions Trophy final, which we played against Australia, was incredible. Unlucky we lost that on strokes. But when you when you say that we are our own enemies in terms of the emotion, if I just may take you back a little, कि 2018 वो जो मलेशिया वाला मैच था एशियन गेम्स में, till then the team was playing incredible hockey. We beat Japan 8-0. It was one of the most perfect matches I have seen, honestly. लेकिन उस मैच में जो कुछ हुआ, आपको लगता है कि that was down to emotion, और क्या वो आज जैसे फाइनल में रिपीट हो सकता है?
नहीं हो सकता, क्योंकि मेरे को लगता है कि प्लेयरों ने ओवर द पीरियड अपना जो बहुत बड़ा लेसन था। अगर आपने 2010 में देखा होगा, सेम स्पॉट सेम फ्लिक एंड मलेशिया को हमने हाथ में दे दिया था गंजाओ में सेम। एंड मेरे को लगता है कि वो सेम चीज 2018 में हुआ। ऑफ कोर्स जब एक स्टेप इमोशन में हमने येलो कार्ड लिया, फिर उसके बाद वी स्टार्ट प्लेइंग विद द 9 प्लेयर्स, तो ये कहीं कहीं होता। लेकिन मैं 2018 उसके बाद जब वर्ल्ड कप किया, मेरे को लगता है कि हम सबने इस चीज को माना कि ये कहीं ना कहीं हमारा एक एक्स्ट्रा करने की जो एक ख्वाहिश होती है ना हर प्लेयर की, कि मैं टीम को निकाल दूंगा, वो कहीं ना कहीं टीम को भारी पड़ता है। और मेरे को लगता है वो बहुत बड़ा लेसन था इंडियन हॉकी के लिए, प्लेयरों ने सीखा। और आज देख लिए सभी अपना रोल प्ले कर रहे हैं, कोई वहां पे स्टार बनने की कोशिश नहीं करता। वो मेरे को लगता है कि नहीं करेगा, क्योंकि अब इंडियन टीम समझ गई है कि ये जो इमोशन वाला कार्ड है ना, कि फाइनल है, सेमीफाइनल है, मलेशिया है, पाकिस्तान है, ये जस्ट एक मैच है, ऑर्डिनरी मैच जैसे बाकी मैचेस है। ऑफ कोर्स मलेशिया जो है वो आएगी डिफेंसिव खेलने, वो काउंटर पे अपना करेगी, डी में जाके 3D स्किल दिखा के पीसी करने कन्वर्ट करने की कोशिश करेगी, लेने की कोशिश करेगी, ये सबको पता है। लेकिन जो काउंटर कंट्रोल है इंडियन टीम का, सभी लोग क्रिटिसाइज कर रहे हैं फुलटन के लिए। मैं कहता हूं कि उसने बहुत अच्छा स्टार्ट किया। इफ यू वांट टू विन द मैच, हमेशा कह देता है अटैक विन द मैच, डिफेंस विन द championship. What do you want? You want to win the championship. He started from the defense, and that's one of the creditable things he has done. And मेरे ख्याल से Indian defense, if you see the terms of the PC which we are giving, terms of the shots on the goal, India is far far behind. How they know how to counter control if anyone is coming with a full play.
Vishwanan, my pointer to you is that whether it is Harinder Singh, whether it is Sigi Eichmann, whether it is Stephen, as coaches, they are all use that one phrase that you have to keep your emotions in check. And in the past, India has made mistakes where, of course, other teams would have made mistakes too, where they have conceded from a position of dominance by getting excited by. And this is Sigi Eichmann has had a couple of digs at India saying that they get very excited and they say goal maro and attack karo. So how do you keep the emotions in check? Does the crowd have a role to play? And what is the role of the senior players?
Yeah, so that's the time I think that ये वायरस है, एक प्लेयर के पास होता है, स्पेशली जब सीनियर के पास होता है, वो जूनियर कैरी कर लेता है। मेरे ख्याल से वो मोमेंट आइडेंटिफाई करके इमीडिएटली यू हैव टू चेंज एंड जस्ट हैव द सिंपल वर्ड विद द प्लेयर। आई डोंट वांट द फैनेटिक थिंग्स। When the Taj was built, the first brick was put. Nobody thinks such a great monument will come. So the every match there is you have to build the Taj, and that's the time I think you have to pull out that player, talk to simple what we want to simple play, simple hockey, and the what we decided in the boardroom. Let's stick to that. I think that's the best way to tell, and that's also it's important to the management to identify that movement and take out that player, have the word, so that virus should be not spread across the team. And that's happened in the 2018. Sandeep was the witness. There's one player, he started the virus, the fourth player, and that's all the seniors. They try to solve the problem by themselves. And where the problems start, it's a problem solved by the entire team, not by the individual.
Vigneshwaran, what are your thoughts on emotions?
Well, emotions is, I totally agree with Coach Harendra. Your EQ, emotion, the way you control your emotion is vital in a game, how you manage those situations. But the other thing is also, apart from emotion, there's another thing called AQ, adversity. Adversity is changes or unpredictability. So this is another area that one needs to know how to solve. Based on team tactics, you don't do your own plan because the team has a plan. But then, as you know, hockey is an open skill sport. Things vary, things change. So there's a lot of adversities you face. So how you solve those situations based on adversities, control your emotions to what it's supposed to be on that level, and you're calm, doing just the things that is necessary and what you have to do for the purpose of the team. It's very, very important.
Hariji, there is a pointer. I want to come to you. Basically, it's about Malaysia, and they are known as speedy tigers, but are often slow starters. Now, the question is that can they keep up a constant pace against India? And if they do that from the first quarter, then it might go against them by the time, or basically lose steam in the last quarter. What are your thoughts on this? How do you pace out a game?
If any team, Asian team, they want to accelerate on the pace, the floodgate will be open for India. Let's accept it. The Indian team, the fitness is, I can say, the better than some of the top team in Europe, and we have to accept it. And we can talk in the studio, but every coach they know who is a threat for the whole world. If you talk with the top coaches, they said the Indians are too speedy, man. It's hard to catch up their speed. And the fitness has come. So it means you have balanced the both things, the speed and the fitness. So I think the Malaysia knew very well. If we go in the style of India, playing with the full speed and the all 60 minutes, then the floodgate will be open. Definitely, this match will be start with the cautious 5-6 minutes with both sides, and that Malaysia will play half court. India is playing the mix of half court full press that is suiting us also, and I think the India knows when to. I think that the smelling of the other teams the back foot. India now they know very well, and the best things is if you analyze the entire team or midfielder are very creative. 1v1, 2v1, the across the ball, how to use it. If you see that yesterday that goal which is scored by Sumit, it's a top goal. Top goal. If you give the out of 10, how many times I'll give 11. So that shows that when you are having the ball, you are not getting panicky. You know where is the space, how I have to exploit the space, what skill I have to use, how you get when you are full with oxygen, where your mind is cool, you are taking this decision. I think that's one of the reason. If anyone want to play the full pace, then definitely they will open the floodgate for India. And I don't think so in the final. Nobody want to exploit the final.
अरे जी ये भी कहा जा रहा है, जैसे अभी संदीप ने थोड़ी देर पहले कहा था कि 3 स्टार प्लेयर्स हैं इंडियन हॉकी के जो स्टेडियम में बैठ के मैच देख रहे हैं क्योंकि या वो अनफिट हैं या जो भी कारण होगा। बेंच स्ट्रेंथ एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज होती है और हर कोच चाहता है कि एक उस टीम के पास बढ़िया बेंच स्ट्रेंथ रहे। ये कैसे इंडिया इस पोजीशन में आप कैसे रेट करते हैं और ये बेंच स्ट्रेंथ को बिल्ड करने के लिए क्या करना जरूरी है?
मेरे को लगता है कि इंडियन टीम का बेंच स्ट्रेंथ अच्छा नहीं है, स्क्वाड बहुत अच्छा है। ये एक पेन जो होगा पत्रकारों का क्रिटिसाइज करेगा कि इसको क्यों नहीं किया। अगर आप सोचिए आज 28 में से 18 निकालना बहुत मुश्किल है किसी भी प्लेयर का, किसी भी कोच के लिए। तो बेंच स्ट्रेंथ में अभिषेक जैसा प्लेयर बाहर बैठा है, ललित जैसा प्लेयर बाहर बैठा है, सिमरनजीत जैसा प्लेयर बाहर बैठा है। आप किसको आपके पास 16 ही है एशियन गेम में, 18 भी नहीं है। सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है कि एशियन गेम में भी 16 है, 2 तो जो जाएंगे वो बाहर बैठेंगे, तो कैसे करेंगे? तो मेरे को लगता है कि ये एक बहुत सुखद परिस्थिति है इंडिया की। बहुत अच्छी चीज है कि जब ऐसा कंपटीशन आता है तो प्लेयरों में भी एक हेल्दी कंपटीशन आता है। दे कैन नॉट सिट एंड द ड्राइविंग सीट एंड दे थिंक ओ नोबडी इज गोइंग टू ड्रॉप मी। इट मीन्स द कांस्टेंट वी आर इम्प्रूविंग एंड दैट्स वन ऑफ द की एरिया है जो इंडिया को, मेरे को लगता है संदीप इसमें एग्री करेंगे, 2016 जूनियर वर्ल्ड जीतने के बाद वो जो 25 लड़के थे रिमेनिंग प्लेयर थे, वो इतना कॉम्पिटिटिव हो गए हैं और बेस्ट स्ट्रेंथ इतना कंपटीशन में आ गया है कि ए अगर इंजर्ड होता है या बी इंजर्ड होता है तो मेरे को नहीं लगता कि टीम पे ज्यादा फर्क पड़ने वाला है। अगर आप गोलकीपर देखिए पाठक एंड सिरजेश, आप मेरे ख्याल से इस वर्ल्ड कप के बाद ट्रेमेंडस फॉर्म में है एंड नॉट ए सिंगल जगह मैं कह सकता हूँ, पॉइंट आउट कर सकता हूँ। यस समटाइम्स हर प्लेयर का अप एंड डाउन आता है, लेकिन वो फेजेज में आ रहा है, पूरा सीजन नहीं रहा है।
That on the bench strength bit.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
If you really look at it, I think in fact, I can use the word tragedy. The tragedy is that you're only going to take 16 to the Asian Games. I think it's going to be a very complicated and a very difficult decision for Craig. That how does he balance it out? I mean, if you have a player like Simranjeet out on the bench, if you have Dilpreet on the bench, if you have Abhishek on the bench, if you have Lalit on the bench, then how do you bring them in and who do you leave out? So because even these players are performing here, and I still believe that okay, Abhishek can also find a place, Dilpreet can also find a place, and I do believe Simranjeet finds a place. I mean, Simranjeet 2018 Champions Trophy under Harinder, he scored those incredible goals against Pakistan, and then everybody knows what he did in the Tokyo Olympics. So it's becoming a difficult, but I think it's a good thing. You know, as Harinder points out, it's perfectly there for every coach to probably zero on and figure out which competition you are playing in and which players are going to deliver in that particular competition. I think ultimately it's with the coach, and I have always believed that. I don't know if Harinder and the others agree with this point. I am not a great believer in selection committees. I'm a perfect believer in what the coach wants. If the coach says these three or these 16 or these 18 are going to deliver, give them to the coach because ultimately the accountability lies with him. And I think that's what Craig probably is also saying, that, I am the one who's going to deliver. So leave it to me.
Vigneswaran, do you agree with that analysis that the final team selection should be left to the coach and not to a selection committee?
Well, I believe if it's me, I'll let the head coach decide, but they have to report to a selection committee, because the selection committee will ask certain questions on justification. So you have the check and balance there. But then ultimately, the head coach, you need to give respect to him, because he shoulders and he knows every player who he wants to win the tournament or to perform well in the tournament that he's going to face.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Harinder, where?
That selection committee dilemma is always exists in Asia, nowhere in the world, I tell you. Selecting the team for whether you make the squad 60, 80 is the selection committee. Rest of the things is always the coach. Nobody should be involved in that. Let's accept it.
Harinder, where since we mentioned goalkeeper Srijesh, so he held a press conference and he made some interesting remarks about the importance of the modern goalie in the entire setup and how he almost becomes like an on-field coach. I believe that Craig Fulton sitting next to him was quite uncomfortable with that remark, but Sandeep disagrees with me. But I basically come to you with his remark that he mentioned names as the future possible Indian goalies: Krishan Pathak, Pawan Malik, and Suraj Karkera. So, your thoughts?
I think if you ask me, when I was also coach, when my juniors goalkeeper was Suraj Karkera, Pathak, Dahiya, I think he played a big role. And if you see that also in 2016, you will surprise he was my goalkeeper coach in the World Cup. So he's playing that role. Let's accept it. Off the field and on the field, he's playing this thing, and he has the caliber. There is a two type. The
Okay.
legends never make the great coach. Let's accept the Rick Charlesworth. But I can see the basic structure, basic footwork, basic parameter of the coaching. He know that, and I think this is one of the things he has gone through so many coaches. I still remember when he come in the first time, the South Indian lungi without the pad, when I called him 2003, and that's the day I started with the Django. And he came without pad in the National Stadium in early morning, Karnakulam Express. And I was shocked. I asked that my physio, "अरे यार ये तो without pad आ गया, अब मैं क्या करूं?" So somehow we got from Divesh, Adrian, इकट्ठे करके इसको start किए. So he knew what he want to be that, and I think he is very. The one thing is very clear from his mind what he's going to do next, and that's where I think he's enjoying the hockey, and he can be the one of the great coach for goalkeeper. I wish he can open the goalkeeper academy rather than just thinking about only the Indian team. So we can have the more goalkeepers in the world rather than just sticking to one or three.
So that's wonderful.
Harinder, I just wanted to pick up on that. Harinder, just wanted to ask you. You just said that, as per you, Rick Charlesworth probably a great player becomes a very great coach or becomes a legendary coach. Any one player that you think apart from Rick Charlesworth who was a great player and then has also coached extremely well? Anybody else who comes to your mind?
Yeah, so for future, I can say the Barry Middleton is coming. You mark my word. Within the 3 and 4 years, he's going to be one of the great coach in the. He played more than 400 caps for England, and he started coaching now. He's set up with the England team, and I can see he is the one of the going to be the proof. He's one of the foot of the shoes of the Rick Southport.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. And in a short while from now, India will take on Malaysia in the ACT final in Chennai, where the record is concerned. Of course, India is way ahead. And in this tournament, may I also recap for you that world number 4 India defeated 9th-ranked Malaysia 5-0. But like our guest from Kuala Lumpur, Vigneswaran, who is also a former player from Malaysia, said that is not going to happen. So, well, hope it doesn't happen for Malaysia's sake. Both where Harinder and Sandeep are concerned, they are both saying that is the India should win and India will win, but the difference may not be very stunning. So we'll watch out for the game, and there are a lot of interesting pointers coming out, as whether it is we talk about the modern methods of coaching, whether it is bench strength, the attitude of the players, fitness, and like Harinder repeatedly said that where fitness is concerned, India should rank among the best in the world. So goodbye and good luck to both the teams and to all our guests for taking the trouble to join in. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
thank you, thank you,
Thank
Sandeep.
you very much.
Thank you, Anuj. Thank you, Anuj. Bye.
Thank you, Sundeep. Thank you, guys.